Welcome to News with a View, a Fat Cat production. I'm your host, John Acosta, and this is episode 96, actually. We have a lot on the agenda today. Today is July 4th. This is the evening edition. I did an earlier edition, and getting this all done. Have my cold back, but I don't know what's doing that. So I'm going to get my microphone a little bit closer to me over here. I had it pushed aside. And what we're going to talk about this evening is article what a new DOJ memo could mean for naturalized U.S. citizens. Something I saw on MSN.com, Money Talk News, about your bank deposits may lose federal protection under Trump plan. I got a lot to say about that. Washington Post slams Tulsi Gabbard's fundamental misunderstanding of how the media works. That's going to be a good one because that really got me ticked off. So, got 4 things, and of course my ranting, and that will continue unabated. So, tough luck, folks. You're stuck with it. You are stuck with it. Trying to get these books to come in a little bit more on this angle and my other angles. I'm going to push this over to here. And you know what I'm all about. Rights. Your rights. All right. So, the Department of Justice sent a memo out saying to fundamentally look at denaturalization of U.S. citizens who have committed not a crime, in the sense of a crime, not like, they robbed the bank. You might want to do that, but the people who have gotten a green card and became citizens, there are only a few instances where you can take their citizenship away from them. It's a very, very complex process. And all the presidents have used it. And when I say presidents, I'm going to take that back. All administrations have used that. The Biden administration filed for 64 of them. The Trump administration had filed 168. Of the 64, I think they were successful on like 40 of them. And on Trump's, I think it was like 109 or so that he was successful on. When I say them, when we talk about the administration, we actually talk about the president. So the Biden administration had 64 of these, and the Trump administration had 168. You can normally only get it if you're a war crimes criminal, you are a terrorist, or you lied on your original visa application. The reason it is so hard for the government to make their case on it is because all that information that you put there, and you and everything else, normally is very vetted. The information has been verified, and there's nothing sinister about the application. And if there is, you're denied. It's that simple. So, but we know that under the Obama administration and under the Biden administration, people were told to look the other way. So you had people coming in here that are, well, how do you think a terrorist cell got in here from Iran? How do you think that happened? Because the vetting process wasn't being done properly. And I am sure that even under Trump's watch, shenanigans had happened. Normally, denaturalization is not common and has been historically used very limited in such cases as severe fraud, terrorism, and war crimes. Severe fraud would be that, you were part of a terrorist cell, or you were in a hostile military and you didn't tell us about it. I mean, you might have, they might have been disbanded and whatever, but you were required to report that, and you didn't. That's a flag, and if they didn't catch it during the vetting process and they find it later on, you don't get a free ride. You're going to be deported, and your citizenship revoked. So what they're going to be looking at is where people might have lied on their application. And I'm going to use an example. People coming over from Gaza who moved here. And they're asked, do you belong to a political organization? List all the ones that you're affiliated with. And we got the right to ask those questions. It isn't, you got to answer it. Leaving it blank. No, there's got to be none, or this one, and an explanation. So if they ended up being part of the Palestinian Authority and didn't put that down, well, guess what? That group has been labeled a terrorism group. If you were from Iran and were in the military and you didn't put that information down, you could have a problem. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Obama, I think, had like 35 of them or 40 of them that went through. But it does happen. You get people that are, part of a organized crime from Russia, or a spy, and you catch them and you take their citizenship away from you, you kick them out. That doesn't happen much. Normally they're arrested and they're, you stay an American citizen until you come out, then we deport you. That's the way it normally works. But it is a very, very hard, a very, very high standard that has to be met. Now, could that standard be, this is what the rules are, and you lied, and that's good enough. It isn't like you have to have so many check marks and then it tilts. You just need one. Just one. Could that happen? Sure, that could happen. Sure, that can happen. And it just might. But I think for the majority of the people that are here, that are naturalized citizens, they don't have to worry about it. They don't have to worry about it. And even if they were in some type of criminal case and they're citizens, that's not going to, as long as it's not a terrorist act. If it's a terrorist act, well, that's, again, that's grounds for, finding you guilty, and those are the facts. Out you go. So, but the news media is running around and, American citizens could be deported. Yes. And denaturalized. Yes. Yes, it happens. It's a very true statement. People also get struck by lightning. So, and it can happen. So, them running around and saying, today we found out the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. This isn't news. This has been done before by almost every modern day or in the day administration. So when I see this, that, people, and they're like, well, what does that mean for someone? Well, it means that if you lied on your application process, and it's a big enough lie, where, you were part of a terrorist group. Now, you could have been part of it because you lived there. I was, and, you could have been part of it, and you said, I renounced it. I got out of there. I mean, I wanted to see a free Palestine or whatever, but I wasn't going to kill people for it. We had a process, and I thought we were going to go through a process and, make a legitimate claim, but not killing people. The minute they started that, I was out of there. That's not what I'm about. Now, if you're truthful with that and they vet that out, we let a lot of Germans in here. We let a lot of Japanese in here. We let a lot of Vietnamese in here. We let a lot of Iranians in here who were truthful on their applications. They got vetted, and you're here. And if you didn't lie on it, or you didn't do anything wrong, and you weren't a part of a terrorist cell here, or committed an act of terrorism, committed severe fraud, or had war crimes against you in another country, you're going to be all right. Because we had taken in people from Germany that only to find out that there were, they had war crimes. We sent them back to Germany. We took their citizenship away from them, and off they went. So, it is not an uncommon occurrence. It does happen. But it is an uncommon charge. You think of all the 20 or 30 million, 40 million naturalized citizens here, and 168 of them were found, that they had charges placed against them for it. And, of the 168, 109 got. Actually, the other ones, no, it didn't meet the criteria, and you're an American citizen, and you have all the rights thereof, and you stay. So the news media really running on that one and trying to push, the the look that they're coming after, grandma and grandpa, and everyone that has ever filled out a green card. No, that's not the case. That's not the case. Now, if you got a green card and you're screaming on a corner, "Kill Jews," and I support, whatever, this terrorist organization, well, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem. You may be able to say, "I'm exercising my freedom of speech." I don't know how much that's going to go for you when you're calling for the death of people. Don't think that's a wise thing to do. Because that's just as bad as, yes, you have the freedom of speech, but you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. There you go. There's limits to what's acceptable. So, the people that need to worry are the ones that lied or misled immigration officials on their application for citizenship. And it would have to be a pretty big lie. It would have to be that, you're supporting a terrorist organization. Maybe you're giving money. Maybe you're on a list and you give money. I don't know. But it is grounds. And you show with student visas and stuff. Can't do that here. Well, that's yet to be determined whether you could do it here or not. But I don't know if I'd want to press it right now with this administration. All right. I was going through MSN, and I go through all the news outlets to get this information. And this one struck me because it was really disguised very well. And I've seen this before come up on Yahoo News and some other uber liberal and progressive sites, where they said your bank deposits may lose federal protection under new Trump plan. There is no plan. There is no plan to undo FDIC. And as seen on MSN.com, Money Talk News, this is a bold-faced misrepresentation of what's actually occurring. Trump wants to move FDIC into the realm of the Treasury Department. So you don't have all these little separate little fiefdoms out here. And they all have to answer to the Treasury Department now, not here and there and there and there. So it's not streamlining, it's just condensing. But there is no talk about cutting FDIC insurance. And then when you start reading and listening to what they're saying, it's a freaking commercial. But there's no little thing that says ad or, this is over here. And what they're trying to do is to buy Treasury bonds, which is 100% backed by the government. Now, the difference with Treasury bonds and FDIC is that FDIC only will protect you up to $250,000. So if you had $1 million and you wanted to protect it, you buy Treasury notes, because that's guaranteed full faith of the United States government. Now, no one has lost money with FDIC. No one has lost money with that. They've paid out everything. So the idea that, you're going to lose your savings or you're going to lose your IRA that you have in a bank or something like that, no, you're not. And it's guaranteed. Each account, not account holder, but each account that you have in there is $250,000. Same with this organization, NCUA, which is a branch of the federal government. They just calculate assets differently. But there is no plan that I have seen anywhere to do away with FDIC. Now, my personal belief with any of these insurance things, for most people, you don't have $250,000 in the bank. I'm just saying that for most people. There are a group of people that do, and each one of your CDs are insured for $250,000, let's say, because that's the way the account works. But the bank is charged by FDIC by how much money they're actually holding. So if they're holding $200 million, they're paying on a rate of $200 million to FDIC, and that's a percentage amount, and that all gets calculated, and it's all on the up and up. But what really is going on is that the people with $250,000 are paying for the same amount of insurance as you that might only keep $500 in there. My feeling on it is you pay as you go. That if you want $250,000 worth, it costs you, you have $1 million in here or something, it costs you $12 a month. And your money's protected, guaranteed, no problem. So the first $250,000 is on us. The rest, you're going to pay. Whereas the guy that has the $500 in there, he gets it for free. Because he doesn't have to carry the big guys. And that's my feeling on it. I think most banks would just say that it's too hard for them to keep track of all that, and they really don't want to do it that way. They would just rather do it on asset size. And my feeling, even doing it on that side of the coin, is I would look at their loans. Because in reality, your money's being used 70% out in loans, 30% out in other investments. But they make their bread and butter from loans and fees. All these little fees the bank charges, credit card fee, this fee, that fee, 32% interest on a freaking credit card. Used to do better on the street corner. But I heard that on Money Talk News through MSNBC, not MSNBC, MSN.com. And I was like outraged. When I read, finally I sat down and because I knew I see it and I go, that's not happening. I'm not even going to bother with it. But when I saw it on there, and it wasn't labeled as an ad, that's very deceitful. Because there is no plan that Trump is doing to undo FDIC. So. NBC Universal reported that MAGA off the cliff. Budget buster may cost GOP the House, says Dem guru James Carville. Why do they even listen to this guy? Why am I forced to listen to this non-entity? And they go, Democratic strategist James Carville. Well, he's not. He's a former strategist. And Democrats should be screaming about this, going, hey, you know, that guy ain't, we're not paying him. He's not doing anything for us anymore. He's not doing our polls for us. But anything the Democrats can get in the news with, they're going to grab hold of. And it's a free thing where they go, you know, Democratic strategist Carville on Wednesday predicted the country will probably enter a recession. And this was whether the Republican tax and spending bill passes through Congress. So this was the other day before the voting. Yet they still have it up on their website as news. Because it's anti-Trump. It's anti-GOP. It's not factual. Their big out is probably, you know. So this is just more of the real BS that is being portrayed as factual news, as, you know, hard news. And Fox does it. They all do it. This isn't just with them. And this is why I said I'm not locked in step with anyone. I call them as I see them. And in an interview on News Nation Cuomo, anchor Chris Cuomo asked the longtime strategist to address the claim from many Republicans that the failure to pass the bill which extends the 2017 tax cuts would send the country into a recession. So if they didn't do it, you know, we're all doomed. Well, that's not true either. The GOP can, you know, and they say from many Republicans, they didn't say who. If these people were leadership, were these people just, hey, are you a Democrat? No, I'm a Republican. Would you answer a couple of questions for us? You know, do you know anything about the big, beautiful bill? Yeah. If those lousy Democrats don't approve it and pass it, we're going to go into a recession. It's going to be the end of the world. So, but he went on to say, well, you pass it, we'll probably go into a recession. If you don't pass it, we'll probably go into a recession. Talk about hedging your bet. This guy's really, really POS. He's a POS. He hasn't been right. You know, if even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. And that's what he is. He's a blind squirrel that every once in a while he makes 50 different predictions. One of them kind of pans out. Oh, well, and the guy stinks on ice. The days of him being relevant, long gone. And he actually hurts the Democrats. And yet, he throws that bullcrap on a plate, and the Democrats just sit there, can't get enough of it. You just can't get enough of it. And like I said, Trump's not right. a majority of the time on certain things. Trump's not always right. And he doesn't always go in there with the facts. He's an extremely emotional guy. And a very, in a sense, simplistic. He wants to get that message across in, 12 words. And I said, like, Obama and Bill Clinton were wordsmiths. They'd talk, and in 3 sentences you got exactly where he wanted you to go. Because he could get his idea across and have it tied into something that you could go, all right, that kind of makes sense, but then you might look further into it and go, well, that's not the whole picture. But he got it across in 3 sentences. Everyone wishes, Trump, just stop talking. We already bought it. You made the sale. Now stop talking. Carville, name's Carville. I mean, true rubbish. True rubbish. And they give him airtime. They give this guy airtime. And then I have to spend my time researching this dummy's points and going, no, that's not going to, no, the guy's wrong. His, yes, what he's saying is over here is what is being said over there, but that's not the conclusion. How you got to that conclusion, show me how you got to that conclusion. And most of the times he can't. He can't. Because he doesn't have a crystal ball. No one has a crystal ball. And he only knows some of his stuff from what he reads. And doesn't know what the full intent is. Or the Democrats get to him and go, this is what this is doing. This is the meaning I want you to pitch out there of what this means. And he runs with it. Because he's a Democratic strategist. He is not, hey, I'm just going to look at this, I'm going to call it this way, or I'm going to call it that way. That's not his job. His job is to push the Democratic agenda. So, all right. This is one that really has me going here. Washington Post, of course, the quintessential of unbiased news, says Tulsi Gabbard's fundamental misunderstanding of how the media works. And Tulsi had posted earlier on Thursday on X that national security reporter Ellen Nakamisha appears to be actively harassing ODNI staffs. Tulsi said, instead of reaching out to my press office, she is calling high-level intelligence officers from a burner phone, refusing to identify herself, lying about the fact that she works for the Washington Post, and then demanding they share sensitive information. Now, this is my problem with the press, is when they actively try to get an individual to divulge sensitive, classified, or any information that they're not authorized to discuss. And they call up, and they call up, and they pressure them, and they corner them, and, you know, they give some type of statement, and then, well, but this is what you said. Now, I can print what you said. Now, I don't want to do that, but you got to fill in the blanks over here. So now they jam this person up into a corner. That shouldn't be allowed. Now, that's a problem that Gabbard has. Tulsi has to go and tell everyone, you talk to the media. If they come and ask you a question, you call this number. But you don't tell them anything. Point them towards the press office or something. Don't say, if it's sunny out, hey, is it sunny out? Don't answer. You do not speak to the media. You do not speak to the press. You don't speak about your job or what you do. And what they're doing, Gabbard insisted that what is happening was a clear political op by the same outlet and the same reporter who harassed and stalked her family in Hawaii. The Post executive editor, Matt Murray, dismissed Gabbard's allegation. Reaching out to potential sources rather than relying solely on the official government press statements regarding matters of public interest is neither nefarious nor is it harassment. It's basic journalism. No, it is not. It is not. And all these articles where not authorized to speak, I can't, unnamed sources. Lead to bad things. Now, the Democrats can scream, hey, you all said Joe Biden was, unfit, and you spoke to people that you shouldn't have spoke to, yeah, okay, then it turns out that you might have been correct, but they weren't authorized to tell you any of that. Right? So it can sway both ways. But it seems that the left, there is no more Democratic Party anymore. They're progressives. They're left. They're gone. Anyone with common sense and any, sense of fair play is gone in the Democratic Party, and then ratcheted up the Republicans to go, well, I got to be just as bad as they are because I can't be the sheep hanging out with two wolves who are discussing what to have for lunch. Can't do that. So this poses huge problems for everyone. It's not news. You're trying to get people to give away classified, sensitive, or speak on behalf of an agency that they're not permitted to speak about. Not for any other reason other than a political op piece. And I think that those people, if caught, should be prosecuted. That's not freedom of speech. That's not journalism to not just look in a window. If you left your blinds up on your window facing the street and someone, and looks up and goes, oh, they're naked. Well, you're not going to be in trouble. If that person, oh, you were peeping. No, I was walking by right in the street. You were right in the front window. Now, if that same window had shades drawn and the window was open and this person took a stick and moved the curtains to see what was inside, what would you say? Yeah. Yeah. That's the same analogy that I would use against those people. And you don't have to say, well, we're the press, we're allowed to take that stick and jab it open. No, you do not. And the people that you spoke to, they need to be called up on and go, you fed the monster. Where we have signs all over the place telling you, no feeding the monsters. You fed them. You're as guilty as they are. And will face the same consequences. And I think you have to get tough on doing that. And you have to, if you find out who these people are that are, you might not know who the news organization person was that you gave that information to. But if we find out that you did give that information out, your only chance for salvation is to tell us who you did it to, and then we go after that person. And remember, conspiracy, the right hand doesn't have to know what the left hand is doing to be a conspiracy. Just saying. It is something that needs to be addressed. And I think it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And it's hard to have a government that you're trying to float if your own people are trying to poke holes in that boat. And now, instead of sailing and making sure you don't hit anything, you're down there bailing water out so that the boat doesn't sink. Yet it will crash. That's not reporting news. And I get it is a very fine line. And again, it doesn't stop if a person inside an agency reached out to a news organization. That's different. That is different. If someone goes, I feel so compelled, I can't keep quiet about this. I need you to look at this, 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 and this. Now, if they're giving away top secret information, if they're compromising people, at that point, I go, hey, this is what we got. We're going to ask you whether or not it's true or not. Get back to me. Because if not, we're going to put an alleged piece out here that people are saying this. And maybe now other people will come forward. Just saying. But when they go, psst, Tell me what you're doing in there. What did they say at that meeting? That's different. That's not journalism. That's not journalism. And they want to go, well, we're trying to get down to the nitty gritty. Well, there's some things you can't get down nitty gritty to. Because you don't see the whole picture. You might think what's going on over here is horrible, but in the large scope, we're saving 50,000 people over there. But you don't see that. It needs to be reined in. And I think basically that's what Trump is doing, suing these news organizations. Okay, you're going to say this stuff? You're going to do it? Game on. Because he's not worried about running for office again. He's that was not his place. He never let that bother him. Now, people that are going to be lifelong politicians, yeah, they got to worry about that. That's something they got to look at. I'm going to be here tomorrow if I do this. Well, so. And when it was real news, when it was real journalism, now it is not. Now these are all political hits. Fox does it. CNN does it. They all do it. They're all looking for that aha moment. And they don't care. They're not doing it for the good of the country. They're not doing it. They're doing it to get up a couple more percentage points on Nielsen. Or whatever publications, papers look at, circulation index or, circulation. So we can charge more for our advertising. They could care less about the country. They're only looking at the next quarter. Well, that has to stop. And it really needs to be addressed, looked at, analyzed, because it is something that is really out of control. It is out of control. And it's not getting any better. Just not getting any better. And it's just something that, we can't and we shouldn't be sitting there going, yes, we think this is a good thing. Because it really isn't. What the New York Post is doing is going out there and asking people to spy for them. And I said it's different if that person went to the news and said, listen, this is what's going on, here you go. All right, the news, they didn't go to that person's house. They go, I want to talk to you, or coerce you. They didn't. It was unsolicited. And the news, that's journalism. Going out there and going, what happened at that meeting? nothing. Okay. Next, hey, what happened at that meeting? What did that guy say? That's not journalism. That is just not journalism. So, Washington Post, as normal, I disagree with you. And this is where people, you have to be so careful in how the news is presented to you. And see it for what it is. Very, very, very important. This fatcatproduction.com. Fat Cat, spelled with a K. I have a webpage. I don't do much with it, just point you towards my YouTube site. Putting this on Facebook, I'm looking at it, and I do put a lot of this stuff up on Facebook. But some of these other ones, they're just such a pain to get into and send it over and do it. I could be here all day doing it. So it's not something that I look forward doing. When I say I don't look forward doing it, I mean the editing and all that stuff. I'm not a fond. I'm checking this to see if I could see any fireworks outside. I hear everything going off. This is South Carolina. Everything's allowed here. You know, you can own a tank, shoot it off as long as you got the acreage to do it in. All right, I'm not seeing anything out here. But News with a View will look at it unbiased, but then I'll spin my spin into it. But only using facts and the truth. And again, I have common sense. That's all I want from people is common sense. Whereas if you have common sense, you could be reasonable. All right? That's the old joke. What's the difference between a terrorist and a Democrat? You can reason with a terrorist. It's a horrible thing to say about Democrats, but you are what you are. And a lot of them have, you know, they go, we're for this and it's about America. No, it goes against our Constitution. You can't do that. It goes against our laws. You can't do what you want to do. Change the laws, have at it. But until those laws are changed, I don't know what that was. Like something hit the house. Yeah. We'll figure it out. This will be going up immediately. I haven't even looked to see what my site was doing, seeing how long I've been up for. What is it, 54 minutes. I'm going to cut it off at an hour. I did a 43-minute show earlier. It's rare I do 2 shows in a row, but there was just so much news out there from, you know, the DOJ memo to FDIC and, you know, all this nonsense stuff out there that I just had to get out there because tomorrow would be a 2-hour show and I don't want to do a 2-hour show. So, you know, I'm taking autos and cuts and doing everything with my switcher here tonight. We'll probably put up my live. I don't know if that was still 1 or still 2. Well, it's still 1 because my monitor is so far away that I'm like, huh? And it's like a 22-inch monitor too. It isn't, you know, it isn't a small monitor. But the old eyeballs. And if this was a regular studio, I'd have racks up there and it'd be a lot more out of the range of the cameras, but in the range of my eyeballs. And we'd be able to see. We're getting close. We're getting close. I will be doing a live chat type of thing on YouTube and maybe Facebook coming up. There's a lot of things I want to do, but it's just so technically hard. And everyone goes, oh, how simple and easy it is. Well, I don't know. I know I'm old, but some of the stuff, you know, to churn it all out and have it go out on 3 or 4 different streams. I mean, the internet's only so fast, and that's it. You can hear all the fireworks going off now. Now it's starting. It'll be this way till about 11 o'clock tonight. It's 9:30 now. 9:26 now. So I'm always open for suggestions. You could leave email for me at John Radio TVC. No, I'm sorry, John Radio TV. That's JOHNRADIO TV at gmail.com. And, you know, hey, you're stupid. Hey, you're fat. Hey, I knew you when you were even dumber. That's okay. That's fine. I have no problem with it. You think I got through everything I've been through by having a thin skin? Nope. Nope. That's just from my family. But I want to say hello to Joey, Allie, Samantha and Shaq, Nevaeh, David, and new baby, Cyrus. Yeah, I think that's yes. Cyrus. Christopher and Rowan. All the people out there. And of course, Bob in New York. God bless Bob. God bless Bob. What would I do without Bob? What would I do without Bob? So, and with that, I didn't realize I didn't turn. I gotta try to get another sign like this so I can have 2 of them here facing the cameras and they pop up straight every time. That's my goal tonight, to look for an NCUA sign like this so I could have 2 of them there facing the cameras. Though I am thinking of buying a new camera. So, all right, we're at the hour mark coming up here. I'm going to say, please give to a charity if you can. Charity does begin at home. I understand that. Pick the charity carefully. Make sure you go to that charity. If they don't come to you, don't be a victim helping a victim. If you can't do that, canned foods to a food bank would be great. 4 cans of food might not seem much to you, but a person that doesn't have 4 cans of food, that could mean everything. Say a prayer. Prayer does work. And with that, I think I'm going to just cut right to That's the only thing I don't like about this little switcher. I'm going to cut right to my still one. And thank you all for watching. And I'll catch you tomorrow. All right? You guys all have a good one. And I think I'm going to fade the black on that.